Just Energy with naturopath and medical intuitive Dr. Rita Louise. We have learned from Einstein's theories that matter and energy are one. Physicists believe that all systems in nature have their own particular way of vibrating. From the swing of a pendulum to the waves in the ocean to the light that brightens the sky each day, each of these oscillates at its own unique rate. In the same way, things such as rocks and minerals vibrate very slowly and at speeds that are imperceptible to us. Living things such as plants, animals, and man vibrate faster and appear to be alive. The same holds true for every thought, feeling, event, or word we speak. Each has its own frequency or rate of vibration. What many of us don't realize is if we take everything in our own universe down to its simplest form, it is all just energy. Join Dr. Rita as she explores questions such as, what are we made of? Why do we get sick? How can I live a more balanced and whole life? Call in and talk to her and her thought-provoking guests. Send us your questions and get the help you need to move beyond any obstacle or challenges that may be affecting your life, right from the source. So stay tuned and explore your possibilities.
Hello and welcome to this week's Just Energy Radio. I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. Well, we got Giorgio Tsoukalos back on the show, and so if you have been watching TV, he is the guy from the Ancient Aliens TV series, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to be talking about Erich Van Daniken's new book, Twilight of the Gods. We're going to be talking about all kinds of things. But let me give you a couple of quick announcements. November 6th is the History, Haunts, and Legends Conference. I'll be there speaking, along with some good friends of the show. Larry Flaxman and Ken Gearhart will be there speaking as well. That's going to be held November 6th in Jefferson, the most haunted town in Texas. For more information about that, go to jeffersonghostwalk.com. For information about shows that are coming up or to get my monthly article, do sign up for my newsletter. You can sign up for that at www.justenergyradio.com. And as always, if you want to get a reading from me, send me an email. We'll get you signed up. And don't forget, later on in the show, we'll be having this week's Mind Yoga Question. So let me tell you a little bit about Giorgio and get him on the show because I think this is going to be more than fascinating. Giorgio Tsoukalos has often been described as a real-life Indiana Jones. As a trailblazer, he is changing the way the world thinks about the Ancient Astronaut Theory. For over 10 years, Giorgio has been the director of Erich Van Daniken's Center for Ancient Astronaut Research. I cannot speak today. He is also the publisher of Legendary Times magazine, the world's only and definitive Ancient Astronaut Research journal. So please welcome to Just Energy Radio. If I can, there he is, Giorgio Tsoukalos. Hey, Giorgio, how are you today?
Very well. How about you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for coming back onto the show. It was a pleasure having you before, and I just am thrilled and honored to have you back on, especially now you're like total superstar.
Well, I wouldn't take it that far, but yes, things are going good for me. Thank you very much.
Well, my husband and I watched the Ancient Astronaut series that they had on TV. We were pretty much glued to the TV set, the information that was out there, and I just want to congratulate you for that because you were on just prior to that being released.
Yes, absolutely, and it's a wonderful story that it turned out to be such a great success that I'm actually in Hollywood right now filming season 2 of Ancient Aliens, and the first episode will air in about 3 weeks on October 28th. So I'm very excited to make this announcement. There will be 10 more 1-hour episodes instead of 5 more 2-hour episodes, because the first season was 5 2-hour episodes. Now it'll be 10 1-hour episodes, and we're not going wider. We're going deeper into the mysteries and exploring some of the same stuff, but also some new stuff, some new material. And I've seen 2 days ago, I've seen the first footage of the first episode, the first 10 minutes, and once again, it'll be visually stunning. it's absolutely, it's wonderful. I mean, the job they're doing is simply extraordinary.
So can you drop any insights about what kind of topics are going to get covered, or is that like a secret?
No. I mean, this time, we'll look at underwater structures, for example. So we'll look at the monuments of Yonaguni in Japan. We'll look at the Bimini Road. We'll look at some of the underwater structures off of the coast of India. And we'll explore Atlantis this time around in more detail and things like that. And so, there's a whole bunch of topics that we basically just, kind of superficially looked at in Season 1, and so now in Season 2 we'll go deeper into those mysteries, and just, like I said, we're going deeper, not wider, and because I think that many people are interested, well, here he said, or here this researcher said, that in this text you can read this, and in that text you can read that. Now we'll actually go ahead and, show the source, give the exact quotes and things like that. And so that's all very exciting.
I just think that it is phenomenal that a show on this topic, Ancient Astronauts, is even making it to TV. And it's being so well received.
Right, and this shows me that, the times are changing. There is a type of paradigm shift going on, and we're right in the middle of it. And, everybody keeps on wondering, when will disclosure happen? And I really wonder if those people have what they're talking about, because we're right in the middle of disclosure. So, to keep on asking this question, when will the world governments finally release this information? Well, look around you. I mean, all this stuff, this is not a coincidence that these shows are on TV, number one, and number two, not only TV shows, and here we have Ancient Aliens, that's a documentary series, so based in facts, but at the same time, we have TV shows such as Fringe, and we have TV shows such as The Event, and things like that. So, that is all part of this entire process of getting, the population not necessarily ready, but at least comfortable with the idea, not only are we not alone, but we've never been alone, we've always been visited, and the same counts for movies. I mean, last 3-4 years, and in the next couple of months, there's a whole bunch of movies that will be released that have the extraterrestrial question at their very core. I mean, it's highly fascinating and wonderful all at the same time.
It's a very exciting time, especially if you're interested in this topic, to just have the information brought right to your living room, and you don't even have to read the books.
Right, exactly. So no, that is definitely something else. That and I would think that something like this 10 years ago, 20 years ago, would have not been possible, because the wonderful thing with Ancient Aliens is the fact that, look, as you know, I've been on TV many times, and so has my boss, Erich von Daniken, and David Childress. We've all been on TV before, but never before, was our topic described or presented in a way where, they didn't drag it into the ridiculous. They didn't have the Twilight Zone music in the background, or the hokey sci-fi clips of 1950s. So it's really refreshing to see that a topic such as Ancient Aliens is presented in the way they're currently presenting it, and I'm really thankful for that. I mean, it's just wonderful.
So are you hanging around with David there? Because I'm going to put my 2 cents in. I have been trying for like 2 years to get him on the show. So if you have any influence, tell him I'm like really cool and he should come on. Just energy.
Oh, sure. No, I mean, I'm surprised because, that, consider it done.
Cool.
Yay! Consider it done.
So one of the things that you mentioned was a paradigm shift that's going on right now, and there are a lot of people that believe that, and I'm just going to use generically 2012, is going to be some kind of a paradigm shift. Now, there are those people that say, it's going to be disaster, it's going to be apocalyptic. Some say we're going to experience transcendence. What do you think is going to happen? From an ancient alien perspective, what do you think they were talking about, the Mayans were talking about?
I'm really happy that you're asking me this question at the beginning of the show, because usually interviewers, for some odd reason, reserve this question, for the last 2 minutes of the program. And 2 minutes simply is not enough to delve into this, because both Erich von Daniken and I, we have very strong opinions about 2012. And, I'd like to preface this with, a cautionary observation that, yes, I am totally aware that, this 2012 thing is going on right now. But in general, though, people are, kind of freaked out. Now, you mentioned something very interesting and very important, that it could be, a new form of transcendence or a shift in consciousness. Now, that, to me, would be the most exciting part. And I think that we are already right now, even in 2010, in this shift in this shift of consciousness. And so, but the cautionary observation is very simple, and I really have to tell our audience that before any 2012 discussion can be begun, you have to disclose to the audience that the whole 2012 thing is based on a complete mistake, and that is, well, first of all, the Maya never once said that on the 21st of December 2012 that the world will end. They never said this. What they did say, it's the conclusion of one period in time, and it is the beginning of a new period in time. I mean, just as on the 31st of December, your calendar at the end of the year runs out. What do? You go to the store, you buy yourself a new calendar, and boom, there you have it for the new year. Wonderful. It'll accompany you for the whole year. And so that's the same thing with 2012. Because everyone only talks about the end, they talk about apocalypse, end of days, judgment day, and looked at from a perspective of how the Maya described the quote-unquote end of this time period, it's complete nonsense to suggest negative ideas. But I am also aware that people need to sell their books and things like this, but that definitely has to be understood. And most importantly, well, there's two things that are most importantly, but number one, everyone only talks about the 2012 date, but nobody talks about or asks the question, well, if the Mayan calendar ends in 2012, do we actually know when the calendar began? And the answer is yes. There have been multiple dates, and now scholars sort of agreed on one particular date, and that's the 11th of August, 3114 BC. Now, we would all have to agree that in 3114 BC, the Maya didn't even exist the way we know them today. And so what compelled them to start their calendar during that time period? And according to the Chilam Balam book, it's the book of the Jaguar priests, it says that at that time, the road to the stars descended from the sky, and the 9 and the 13 gods came to earth and taught mankind in various disciplines. And sooner or later in the future, they will return to rectify what has been wrong. Now, I'm paraphrasing this quote. However, the full and correct quote is listed or is printed in Twilight of the Gods. And so, all around the world, we have these promises of these gods, lowercase g, by the way, of returning one day. And 2012 conceivably could be such a date. However, that won't be the case. Because right now, and this is the important point number 2, right now, it's not even 2010. Have you ever noticed that we went from 1 BC to 1 AD? There was never a year 0. So we're already off by 1 year, number 1. Number 2, do we really know? Hold on. Number 2, scholars have now determined that monks in the Middle Ages, who were then responsible about recording our calendar and our years and things like this, they conceivably made mistakes up to 5 years. So right now, 5 plus 1 is 6. 2010, it's either 2004 or 2016. And then the third and last argument is, do we really know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that our calendar began on the day when Jesus was born, when we now know that he wasn't even born on the 25th of December? So, did the calendar start, when he was born? Did it start when he was a teenager? Did it start when he died on the cross at age 32? Or, did it start when the Romans instituted Christianity as their new official religion because too many people believed in it? So we can be as far off as 300 years. And so this whole 2012 question is mired in a complete fabrication, in the sense that, it's not 2010 right now, and it's not going to be 21st of December 2012 when our calendar says it's 21st of December 2012. So this entire doom and gloom, fear, this cowering down of this 2012 thing, it is so unsettling, so unfortunate, that people need to understand that 2012 is nothing else but Y2K 2.0.
I'm the History Hogs and Legends conference that I was talking about. The presentation I'm going to be giving is about 2012, with my conclusion, very similar to yours, is that, on the 22nd of December, you're going to wake up and it's going to be fine because of the dating issue. I mean, there's our calendar, but even the scientists and the researchers, they're agreeing, but they also, the same group of people, or not the same group of people, say that the pyramids were built, 3,000 years ago too. And so I don't know how much I believe them anyway.
Of course, and right, oh my gosh, that's a whole other topic. But, first of all, I would like you to please send me a copy of your speech, of your lecture, because I'm always interested in reading material where people sort of understand the point that I'm trying to make here. And then you mentioned also something very, very quickly that, we'll all wake up on the 22nd of December and we'll all be fine. I choose to, differ a little bit. I think that, yes, we'll be fine, but we'll all have a huge hangover. So I'm not looking forward to the 22nd of December because, man, it'll be a party on the 21st. And people will also, club promoters and party promoters, they will totally milk that evening, and it'll be exactly like the whole millennium celebration of 10 years ago when, everyone celebrated the year, or when the calendar turned from 1999 to 2000, and they said, well, that's the new millennium, which it isn't, because the year 2000 fulfilled or completed the millennium. And so it should have been, all these parties should have taken place on the eve of 2000 turning into 2001. But whom are we to argue? We're the kooks, we're the crazies, and everyone else gets it, huh? Yeah, sure.
Well, and I think also from an energetic point of view, the fear that people are trapped in, they will have the opportunity to let go of that fear and breathe a sigh of relief. But in the same breath, it's like, what damage has that created within us and within our psyche?
Oh, sure, no. And here's the crazy thing that, if you look at history, ever since the invention of the written word, the world apparently and this is not me talking. I mean, this is all, has been not corroborated, but it has been, put together and collected by, scholars from universities and professors and all this. They've determined that since the beginning of the invented, or since we've had the written word, the world has ended 750 some times in all previous cultures, all previous ancestors and things like this. And here we are in 2010, and nothing. So the bottom line is, and the crazy thing is that every time a previous generation said, well, the world will end this definitely in this day and age, because you know what? Our previous generations, they didn't know what they were doing. They were not as smart as we are today, and now we have science on our side and things like this. And it never happened. And the world, or the planet Earth, will be here millions of years from now. The Earth, the world, will never die in that sense. So, of course, 100 million years down the road, of course, the planets die. But there's nothing we have to fear about. All we have to fear about is ourselves, because of people that think that this is the end, this is the apocalypse, the judgment day, all that stuff. Those are the people we should be concerned about, because sometimes people like that will do everything in their power to make these quote-unquote predictions come true. And that is the only unsettling thing about this whole discussion, actually.
And I was just having a very similar conversation the other day. I mean, the book of Revelation has been used to identify the end of the world I don't know how many times, and it's like we're still here kicking.
Right, and it isn't, because if anyone reads that book very closely, which I have, and I'm sure you too, look, and I urge anyone to go and look at that portion of the Bible again. It doesn't say that this will happen, that this is going to happen, but it says if we don't keep our ways, if we don't mend our ways, if we don't figure it out, that is what could happen. But it says very specifically that we have the tools within our hearts to avoid that. And so, it's just amazing that it's really sad that many people, unfortunately, rather, listen to someone on the TV or on the radio, and then without even going out there and checking the facts for themselves, they literally just regurgitate whatever that person or quote-unquote expert said. And, that is really horrible, because the one thing, how I always end my lectures is with one very simple sentence, and that is, do not believe a single word I just said to you in the last 2 hours. I want you to go out there and come up with your own opinion. I want you to do your own research or read up on it, because the moment that if I say something and everyone just runs and takes that what I said as granted and as the truth, then I have to stop what I'm doing for a living. Because the moment somebody professes, like in archaeology, in all fields of science and research, and but especially in the quote-unquote alternative history, alternative living environment, there are many people that claim to have the truth, and unless you take everything what they say to be 100% correct, they don't talk to you and things like this. Well, I just would like to tell the audience that if you encounter anyone who claims to have the truth, who claims to have the answers to all the questions, run for the hills. Go as far away as possible as you can, because no one has all the keys. No one has all the answers, and it's just a way of it's quite unfortunate. And the further we go along, the more people we have like this in our midst. So it's strange.
Well, and one of the things that I have observed recently, I've been doing a ton of research over the last 6 months, is that somebody will quote some source, You know, as an example, this is the one that I like to cite. So there's the whole commentary about the Dogon knowing about the binary star of the Sirius constellation and blah, 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 and it was told to a French explorer. Okay, so that was one source of this information, but everybody takes that to mean something, but no one credits the original source, no one quotes the original source, and I don't even know, because I haven't gotten the book written by the French explorer person, if that source actually exists.
Right.
But everybody uses that claim.
Yeah, and you're referring to the work by Dieterlen and Griol. And, you know, I can tell you from a very reliable source, my colleague Peter Fiebach, who was also in Ancient Aliens in that Dogon episode, that the source does actually exist, because the big argument that the debunkers have about this Dogon mystery is the fact that they say that they were told, that the tribe was told about this by 1950s, 1960s scientists, or that they read it somewhere in a magazine, and that this knowledge was brought to them in a very in modern times. And right there, you know, there you have multiple problems with that line of the side of the story, because, you know, the Dogon are celebrating or have been celebrating this rice festival that they call the Sigui every 50 years, or every 52, 53 years, which represents one orbit around Sirius, that Sirius B does around Sirius, and you know, celebrating this binary star system. And they celebrate this with these wooden masks. And since wood can be carbon dated, they figured out that some of these masks go as far back as 1,000 years. So right there, to suggest that the Dogon knew about this binary star system only since the 1960s is ridiculous, because, and that's argument number one. And argument number two is the binary star system of Sirius was not even discovered until 1967. So, you know, how would the other people, you know, Westerners, how would they have been able to tell the Dogon about this when we didn't even know about this? You know, the quote-unquote Western world, which is ridiculous anyway. But, you know, so the entire Dogon mystery is, in fact, highly fascinating, very reliable, and the first account of the Dogon that the French ethnologists Dieterlen and Griol wrote down can be still today found in original books in French that are available to everyone, to the common man. So those sources do exist, and this is why it makes this whole thing so fascinating, because, you know, it's always great when you have mysteries where the debunking side can't do anything, because, you know, it's one thing to suggest, oh, you know, those sources don't exist, or, well, how do we know? But in this case, for example, you know, and this is why the Dogon story is not that often talked about within the debunkers, because the evidence speaking for this mystery far outweigh the evidence against the mystery, and you know, it's just in this for that it's wonderful.
And the only reason I brought that up is, if it had been misquoted, then there's this whole plethora of other information that has come out of that one source that would be incorrect. And I think that has happened in numerous occasions where something is misinterpreted or misrepresented, and you know, whole culture, counterculture, is formulated around that one concept.
No, absolutely, and you know, I mean, that is, you know, that is one of the basic premise of. Oh, there we go.
Anyway, when we come back, let's go back to the calendar and that 3114 BC date, because I got some questions about that. I'm Dr. Rita Louise. We're here talking to Giorgio Tsoukalos, author of Legendary Times, or publisher of Legendary Times, and we're talking about the twilight of the Gods by Erich Van Daniken, and we'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages.